G was an old battle axe that was built like a Mack truck. Her glasses hung around her neck from a chain. She had a gray suit and gray hair that were so boring, but her red fingernails and lipstick looked like she had dipped them in blood. This was my third grade homeroom teacher. When she walked around the class and passed out report cards, I thought I was in good shape. I had always done well in school and the teachers loved me. But Mrs. G would look at a student, and if she smiled, that meant you did very well, and she would praise you. But then if you did poorly, she would reprimand you in front of the whole class. But I wasn't worried. And when she came up to me, I smiled at her, and she scowled at me. She looked at me and wagged her finger and said, "I'm very disappointed in you, young lady. You are lazy." Me? She handed me my report card, and there it was, a big red E in reading. I had never failed anything before, but this E was so big. It was alive and pulsating. I was so embarrassed that I quickly put it in my school bag, and I thought the day could not get any worse. But then she called us to go get our reading books. Oh, reading was always the most painful subject for me. I had snuck through first and second grade, memorizing everything. I never actually knew what I was reading, but I would look at the pictures and hear the other students. But our third grade book, too many words and not enough pictures. I knew the alphabet, but when I looked at a page in a book, I just saw little black squiggles and white space between them, and I could not decipher them. Well, Mrs. G came back next to my desk and put her claw on my shoulder. I didn't smile at her this time, but I smelled her old lady's cloying perfume and cigarette smoke. She had an announcement. She told the whole class that Marcia was going to the back of the room and Marcia was joining the slow readers group. Oh, I couldn't believe it. That was so horrible. I knew I wasn't as dumb as the slow readers. So I didn't move. I figured she'd remember that I didn't belong with them. But then she squeezed my shoulder and gave me a shove to get out of my seat. The only thing I could think of was the Wicked Witch of the West from The Wizard of Oz. I could just picture Mrs. G pointing her finger down at me and saying, "I'll get you to read a book, my pretty." To get away from her claw, I ripped out of her hand, and I stood up and slowly walked to the back of the class with the other losers in the slow readers group. I was so disparaged. I just looked at my shoes, but then a teacher handed me the second grade book and told me to start reading out loud. I couldn't decide if I should cry or read, but I took a deep breath and decided, okay, I can do this. And I opened my mouth, but before I could even get out a word, I hiccuped really loudly. The whole class started to laugh, and my hiccup echoed across the room until Mrs. G pointed her finger at everyone. Immediate silence. But I thought, ooh, hiccups. Here's a good way I can get out of reading. So what I did was I hiccuped a couple more times, and the teacher figured out that she shouldn't call on me again. Over the years, I had had several other teachers who were just as humiliating as Mrs. G. They convinced me that I was pretty dumb. If they would have told me that my brain was wired the same way as Leonardo da Vinci or Albert Einstein, I would have appreciated it. As it turned out, my brain figured out how to read. I was so happy. And then when I was 30, I heard the word dyslexia. Hallelujah. Finally, I had the reason why I had so much trouble with reading and spelling. Well, that final semester ended, and everybody was running out of the class to go on their summer vacation. But I was not done with Mrs. G or the third grade. I could feel my Italian revenge genes bubbling up to the surface of my 8-year-old body. I looked in the hallway, it was empty. I went inside of a room. No one was there. I grabbed a piece of chalk and I thought, I'll write the most disgusting word I know on the blackboard, poop. But then I decided, no, I'll go for the more adult word. That will really freak her out. So I took the chalk and I made a big letter S-H-I-P. And I ran home.